In this video, I'm going to teach you how to plan your first successful career day in 11 steps. Be sure to watch this video all the way to the end because I'm going to share with you a bonus tip that you're not going to want to miss. So get a pen, a notebook, and let's go. Tip number 1, after you've spoken with your administrator and gotten the green light to have your career day, think about when is the best time for you to have it. I've done a career day in the fall and I usually do it in November, and I've also done one in the spring around April. You have to think about the best time for you to have your career day because it does take a lot of work. But again, watch this video all the way to the end and I'm going to show you how to do it easily. Additionally, you want to think about the time of day you want to have your career day because this is really important for your guests. You don't want them to have to take off work, but you also want to be considerate of their time. I've done half-day career day events and I've also done a full day. Tip number 2, decide which type of career day you would like to have. Believe it or not, there's more than one type of career day. There's pros and cons to each type of career day, so I'm going to share that in another video. You can have your volunteers visit individual classrooms and present to students. But again, if you want to have your volunteers come to speak to your students in a classroom setting, that's awesome. As a side note, that's the type of career day that I'm actually planning right now. Next, you can have a career day in a very large space like a gymnasium or cafeteria, and you can have your guests set up individual booths and have your students visit each booth. This way your guests can bring like a tablecloth or like a banner or different things that they would like to share. And the last type of career event that you can consider is a career on wheels. This is where you can call people in the community like the police officers and the firefighters and have them bring their actual vehicle that they use for their job and present and talk to their students that way. I've hosted all 3 of these events and I'm going to share another video talking about more specifics of them, especially the career on wheels. It's one of my favorites, especially if you're an elementary school counselor. Tip number 3, you want to reach out and start inviting guests. So you thought about your day, you know when you want to have it, you know what type of event you want to have, now you got to invite people to come and speak to your students. There's 5 groups that you can consider reaching out to when you're planning your event. Number 1, families, parents, guardians. Reach out to the families of your students and see if they would like to share their career with the rest of the school. Next, consider the community partners, so that's the policemen, the firefighters, all those people that are in your neighborhood or neighboring businesses. If you work in a large district, you can consider reaching out to central office or district personnel and inviting them. It's the perfect way to showcase your event to all the big people in the district. You can also consider reaching out to colleges and universities in your area, and they may send a representative to come speak with your students. And last, reach out to your staff and see if they have any neighbors, family members, or friends that they would like to come speak to their students. Tip number 4, create a call or contact log. So when you reach out to your guests and invite them, you want to make sure that you log the date, the time, their name, phone number, and email in some type of spreadsheet. I use Google Sheets because they're really easy and simple. But it's important to keep track of when you reached out to your guests because you're going to want to confirm with them once more right before the event. This way you have all of your information all in one convenient place so you can look back at it later on. It definitely helps with the planning process when you know how many guests you have confirmed. Tip number 5, now you want to organize and plan out your logistics. There's some things that you're going to need to consider, so again, make sure you got your notebook and your pen because you're going to want to write down these questions. Where will your guests park? What time do you want them to be there? Who's going to greet them and welcome them into the school? What type of supplies or materials do you need? Are you going to feed them or offer them any type of incentive for coming? These are all things that you want to consider. And again, don't try to do this all on your own. It's best if you work with a team or have a committee to help you plan out all these logistics, especially if it's your first time. Now for me, I'm a pro because I've done this many times and I know the things that I need to consider. But that's why I'm making this video so I can share my expertise for you so you can be a pro next year. And to be honest with you, the logistics part is probably one of the more complicated things because there's a lot of things that you need to consider. Specifically the bell schedule, times of the day, making sure that everything is accounted for because you are the professional planning this event and you want to make yourself look good. Make sure you dot all your I's and cross all your T's. Tip number 6, email logistics to your staff. You want to send out a very detailed email to your staff letting them know what's going to be happening so this eases all of their concerns. You want to make sure that you include everything that they need to know, especially if it's going to impact the schedule or lunchtime or even their break period. Consider all of these things and make sure that they have this information at least a week in advance. This also helps cut down some of the confusion on the actual day of the event, so people aren't reaching out to you and asking you questions then. I plan many career days, and I'm telling you, the day of, when people start arriving on your campus, it's gonna be a lot of things going on, and you're not gonna have time to respond to a lot of questions from staff. So if you can front load that information in the beginning, it's gonna help you out and it's gonna ease their fears. In this case, it's best to be super organized and detail oriented. It's gonna make things go by so much smoother, and it's gonna take stress off of you and your administrative team and your whole staff. Tip number 7, send a follow-up email and logistics information to your guests and your volunteers. This is where you tell them again where to park, what time to arrive, and you also can encourage them to bring props or things that are related to their job. I've had a firefighter come dressed up in his uniform. I've had a doctor bring their stethoscope. You can also let them know that computers, projectors, or smart boards will be available if they would like to do a presentation. I always just tell them to bring their own jump drive, and I let them use the computer of the classroom teacher. The more visual items that they bring, like presentations or props, the better the experience is going to be for your students and the more engaged they're going to be. And I also let them know that they can bring pencils or stickers or little tiny gift bags or candy if they would like to. No pressure. But it's always fun and our students enjoy it. Like one time I had a dentist bring a little gift bag. He had candy, but he also had a toothbrush in there. It was kind of funny. Tip number 8, send out an email and have your guests confirm their attendance about a week before the event. You want to make sure that all those people that you had reached out to previously are still going to be available, because sometimes things change or sometimes their schedule needs to be adjusted, but you want to make sure that you have all of that in place beforehand. You don't want any surprises on the day of the event. And some things you really can't avoid, but again, you want to be as prepared as possible. I would make this a long email, a very simple, we can't wait to see you on November 18th at 8 o'clock to 11:30. Please confirm your attendance and that you'll be able to join us. Something simple. Tip number 9, create a master calendar for your event. This is where you send this out to your staff and let them know what visitors that they can expect in their classroom and what time. This is also important if your staff has to transition to another area of the school, like if you have a visitor in the gym or the cafeteria or even the library or someone like that. This is really, really important because again, it increases the communication and makes sure that everything runs smoothly and make sure everyone is in the know. Tip number 10 is one of my favorites. Have some type of welcoming event for your guests. All of our guests arrive and they come to the library first after checking in, and then we'll have student volunteers escort them to class. In the library, I have coffee, pastries, different things set up for them, and then in the background on a smartboard, I have a small presentation about our school, mainly just a picture slideshow and some music in the background. It sets the tone and it lets your guests know that they are welcomed in your school. I also have a balloon backdrop and a banner that we've created, and again, I've had these things for years. And I didn't do all of this on my own. That's why it's really important to lean on your staff and ask for help to create this event. After our guests are done presenting, we reconvene in the library and we feed them lunch, and I present them with a certificate for coming to our school and sharing their expertise, their job, and just their time. It really makes a difference because again, you might need some of these same people next year. So you want to make sure you treat them right while you have them. Tip number 11, you want to make sure you prepare your students for your speakers. I present them with a list of pre-approved questions that they can ask just to make sure everything goes as smoothly as possible. You don't want your students to, not knowingly, but you don't want them to embarrass our guests or themselves or their teacher. So again, I have a list of questions that I already have available for them. In fact, a couple years ago, we created a career bingo form, and the students were asking specific questions and they could check them off, and we had a little prize for them. It was a great way to keep our students engaged and make sure that they're really paying attention and focused to our guests. Believe it or not, most of the time students want to know about one particular thing. You guessed it. How much money do you make? There's a right and a wrong way to ask this question. So again, I always make sure that I prepare my students beforehand with a list of pre-approved questions. Thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. I hope that you got some really helpful information, but now I'm gonna share with you the bonus tip. You really wanna know this. So a lot of people have a hard time organizing career days because it's hard to get people to come and volunteer and be guests and speak to your students. Let me show you how I do it. I use social media. specifically LinkedIn and Facebook. But when I'm planning my career day to get people to come, I just send random messages to people and just wait to see if they're gonna actually respond. So I use LinkedIn and I use Facebook. I send a very general message inviting them to career day. I tell them the time and the date and ask, would you be willing to speak to our students to share your job and your experience? I send that same message to at least 50 to 100 people. It doesn't take a lot of heavy lifting because all you gotta do is write the message out one time and copy and paste and just send it to random people and wait to see if they respond. I've gotten so many responses from that method, and that's how I plan my career days. That's how I've successfully reached out to a lot of different people here in a new city. I've only been in Houston for about 4 years, so when I moved here, I didn't know anyone. When I was in my hometown of Memphis, it was easy for me to plan career days because I had many friends and network there was already there. But when I moved here to Houston, I had to start from scratch. So I just started sending blind friend requests and messages to people in hopes that they would respond and be willing to come to our career day. And it works. Try it. And if you got value from this, please like this video. Not only does it tell me what you want to hear and what you need, it also helps YouTubers push my channel to other people who might need it. If you would like to show appreciation by buying me a coffee, I'm gonna drop the link right here. And while you're at it, watch this video that YouTube recommends for you. They know what you like.